Welcome to the program, everyone. I'm Brian Craig, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. Thanks so much, everyone, for tuning in. Well, there was one of those things that Rush Limbaugh called an accidental case of journalism on Fox News today with Neil Cavuto. Now, Neil Cavuto hates Trump, and I do not like Neil Cavuto. In fact, as crazy as this may sound to some of you, out of everyone on cable news, which I don't watch cable news at all anymore. I didn't watch this. I saw this on Twitter. But out of everyone on cable news that's currently on the air, Neil Cavuto is the one I dislike the most. I can't stand that guy. And the reason...
me, it's Dana Perino.
I don't like her either.
I cannot stand her. She is so snobby and rude.
Yeah.
By the way, it's Iowa Caucus Day.
That's right.
So it's a big day. That's why with the thumbnail, Trump said we're going to win. So just wanted to set that up from the beginning that's what today is.
So Neil Cavuto, the reason that I really cannot stand him is that on January 6th, President Trump came out in front of the White House to talk to the American people during a very difficult, stressful time in our country.
Yes. Neil
Cavuto cut away from President Trump on January 6th, and he said, "The President of the United States is about to speak. We are going to cut away in case he says something that might incite something." And I'm like, that was it for me with Cavuto. I didn't like him before that.
It shows you what they really have thought about Trump all along.
Yeah.
They really, for some reason, see him as dangerous and as a threat to the democracy, which is insane. Especially when you think about all the things they've done, all the scheming. That's what Trump said. They just scheme. All the lying and the conniving and the scheming that they've done, and he's the dangerous one.
That's right.
Give me a break.
Right.
But the difference is they see all of that as completely justified because Trump is so dangerous.
And they're sick minds.
They see him like Hitler, and they're like the guy in Valkyrie. You know what I mean? That is totally justified what they're doing because he's so dangerous that it doesn't matter what they do. They lie to the American people, scheme, connive. It doesn't matter because stopping Trump is the ultimate goal, and it's all for our own benefit, for everybody's benefit, because we're just stupid. We don't know any better.
So Neil Cavuto, we had this Nikki Haley donor on.
Oh, yes.
Andy Sabin. And, in this era of Zoom, people, it used to be if someone was going to be a guest on the news, they'd have to go to a TV station and they would get them in via satellite.
Oh, yeah.
And now with Zoom and FaceTime, people just do it from their house. And a lot of times, because they're doing it from their house, they just kind of roll out of bed or come out of the bathroom.
Or from a convenience store like Vivek.
Yeah. And they don't really have themselves in the right head. They're not like awake, right? They just kind of roll out of bed in their pajamas. So this Nikki Haley donor, Andy Sabin, he's on with Neil Cavuto today, and he's talking about a big fundraiser that they have coming up for Nikki Haley, and this is where the accidental case of journalism happens. He's talking to Neil Cavuto, and then he slips and reveals something, and he doesn't even realize it was a slip. I'm sure he does now. Listen.
What she had raised in the quarter before that. So the money train is still flowing and going. Are you worried, though?
Thank you, Neil, for having me, and Happy New Year. We actually have a large fundraiser on the 30th of January at a major apartment in New York City where we're raising a tremendous amount of money. Believe it or not, a number of it coming from Democrats.
Okay. So
major apartment. I wonder who's that. So who's a major Democrat in New York? There's a lot of them.
They're all Democrat. A major apartment.
What does that
I've
mean?
never heard such a major home, major apartment. I've never heard such a phrase before.
He means somebody big that everybody knows, I think.
Or somebody that maybe we don't know, but is a super rich person that all the rich people know. And Nikki Haley is actually taking part in a fundraiser from Democrats. And let me tell you why that's a bad thing. Democrats support abortion on demand. They support open borders. They support all these evil things. And taking money from them, she might as well have a fundraiser at Planned Parenthood.
It shows that she has we know she has no morals. She has zero morals, zero conviction.
Stands for nothing.
She will take money from anybody no matter what. And this is another instance of the ends justify the means.
That's right.
And the people, when they do something awful like Fani Willis or Nikki Haley,
It's Fanny.
They rationalize it to make it seem okay. And Nikki Haley is rationalizing this. Well, yeah, I'm taking money from Democrats, but it's to stop Trump. So this is what's important, no matter where the money comes from. She's scum. I'm sorry, that she's just scum, pure scum.
Well, when donors donate money, it's not a gift. They're buying you.
That's exactly right.
And they want things for exchange. And,
so she'll be owned by the Democrats.
Well, no, because she's going to lose.
Well, that's true.
But, Ron DeSantis, who's about to be out of this after today, I mean, he may hang around in there. He might find some change in the seat cushions of the couch or something in the living room at the governor's mansion and be able to stay along. But Ron DeSantis has blown through $300 million.
That's incredible.
$300 million. $100 million of it, $100 million of it was from donors here in Florida when he ran for governor and re-election, when he was fake MAGA. He was telling people he supported Trump. He wasn't going to run against Trump. And a lot of MAGA people donated in individual donations $100 million he had left over after he was reelected as governor. So that's money he really should have refunded. I mean, what Ron DeSantis did was basically he switched parties. Now, Nikki Haley with this Democrat money. See, this is this guy here that Cavuto had on. The donor class, you hear people reference the donor class sometimes. The donors think that this is their country and we're just living in it, right? Like Taylor Swift's old tour, it's her world, we're just living.
Yeah.
And they buy politicians like they buy cars.
They buy everything.
And they believe that it's their country, that they own the country, and that we are getting in the way. And this guy,
well, we are getting in the way.
This interview. Let me finish with this.
We got in the way with Trump electing him, and that wasn't supposed to happen. And Trump's surging in the polls again. It's not supposed to happen. They don't understand.
See, this guy, this Nikki Haley donor fundraiser guy that Cavuto had on. You hear his tone. He doesn't even realize that they've lost. He thinks every politician is for sale. He thinks that's just how it is. And I'll tell you guys this. Think about every election you've ever voted in your entire life. At what point did you decide you were going to vote for the person you eventually voted for, even before Trump came down the escalator? Can you honestly say that there was a single campaign ad that changed your mind? There are things that happen in campaigns that discredit candidates, right? This thing I was talking about today with Ron DeSantis throwing out the guy in the wheelchair out into the snowstorm.
Oh my gosh, I saw that. That's incredible.
And there's in every election, it's mostly the presidential elections because they go on forever and there's a lot of coverage. But and it happens in smaller elections too, but in every presidential election, there are moments where people get exposed and humiliated.
Yeah.
Every single one. Okay. That always happens. But I don't think that the fundraising money, I think this is what the fundraising money buys you. And there's no way to really know this for sure. Not at our level. But I think the media, the television news, I'm talking about the fake news media. I think the television news is for sale. I think you can buy your way. And I think you can buy news coverage and the mass fundraising.
I think it's all one big infomercial.
Yeah, I don't think the mass fundraising is spent on ads on radio, television, or the internet. I think the mass fundraising is spent on news coverage. And I'll tell you,
you and Steve are independent, okay?
Yeah.
But I know when you worked for a radio station back in Miami, you worked for Clear Channel.
iHeart. It's like
iHeart, or you worked for Clear Channel, okay, which was a huge, huge company. And I remember you'd come home and be really frustrated, and the program director would daily come in and tell and dictate what you could and couldn't say. So imagine what it's like when you're on these national news things and you have sponsors that are liberal and they're spending millions. And Mike Lindell, they said his Fox bill for 1 month was $4 million.
Yeah.
So you got people spending $4 or $5 million a month, and they might hate Trump, which most of them do, which is surprising to me. And they're going to be on the phone all the time. I'm not paying for you to promote Trump. I'm not paying. I'm going to pull my ads. And when that happens, you know, these networks are going to do a lot of times whatever their sponsors tell them to do.
The way
there's too much money involved.
The way it works, okay, like I'll give you an example. Karl Rove. Karl Rove's on Fox all day, every day with his stupid whiteboard.
Yes.
He has a big company that works for campaigns, right? So he does massive ad buys on Fox nationwide. That's why he's on all the time.
That's right.
Vivek Ramaswamy made his billions in the pharmaceutical industry. The pharmaceutical industry, if it's not the biggest advertiser, it's one of the couple biggest advertisers in media. And so, you know, that they have a lot of influence with that.
That's right.
So the vast amount of money, and I also believe you can buy interviews on the news and things like this. So all these, like you look at Ron DeSantis, right? He spent $300 million. Is it, and it's basically all been Iowa, a little bit in New Hampshire, a little bit in South Carolina, Iowa. For $300 million, you could buy, I don't know how many TV and radio stations in Iowa.
Let me ask you.
So what I'm telling you, what I'm trying to tell you is that the $300 million that DeSantis has spent was not on radio, television, or print ads in Iowa. It was buying news coverage, favorable news coverage of him. And I believe, I don't know this for sure, but I believe it's spent to buy favorable news coverage, not in the form of commercials, but in the form of news stories, both on local and national news. I think that's where the money goes.
Do they pay, like he's going to be on a town hall on CNN tomorrow. Can you believe this? I think his campaign's paying for that.
I don't know. I wouldn't surprise me.
Like it's one big hour-long infomercial.
It wouldn't surprise me. It would not surprise me
at all. But I don't blame him, Brian. I blame the people
that's how it works.
Giving him money. They're stupid. I mean, I would think after $100 million is gone and there's no movement, there are some donors that left. I'd be out. But I don't know why people are still giving him money. You know, we know Nikki Haley's getting money from Democrats. Is Ron DeSantis getting money from Democrats too? I mean, he's a loser.
Well, these aren't, Kathy,
he's not really likable.
These aren't really individual donors. There's these super rich guys like Cavuto was talking to.
Right, but why are they still giving them money? Why DeSantis?
I wouldn't say they're stupid. They're uber rich. It's a lot of money, right? I mean, it's life-changing money for a normal person. Yeah. I think for most of them, it's not that big of a deal. I think they like feeling like they
have power.
Well, what happens is like this fundraiser at this apartment. So what happens? It's a private fundraiser. Nikki Haley comes in and she has to go around and suck up to all these donors in the room
and make promises.
And see, this is one of the many reasons, but one of the top 5 reasons they're after Trump is because the donors have no juice with him. He's too rich to be bought.
That's right.
And see, Nikki Haley and Ron DeSantis, these are the types of politicians they like because they're not rich. They've already given Nikki Haley $8 million, but I'm sure she's blown through most of that.
They can be bought.
So they want people that need the money, like Joe Biden when he went into politics, they could be bought. And Nikki Haley and Ron DeSantis want to be like Joe Biden. They want to be on the take politicians. Now, they didn't invent this. This is how Washington works, and Trump is changing that. And, you know, that's why I like when Trump brings in these super rich people like Mnuchin and others that can't be bought. Now, I want to talk about, you know, what's going on right now because the Iowa caucus is tonight and everything, and this is amazing. And really what is happened with Donald Trump, this is a miracle, people. You know, he has had the most powerful evil organizations and people, individuals and organizations like FBI, CIA, the media, the politicians, the most evil people and organizations in our country have been after him for 7-8 years now, since he came down the escalator, nonstop, every day. The Mueller investigation, the fake dossier, these cases that are going on now, Stormy Daniels, Jean Carroll. I mean, there's all these things in between that, we can't even forgotten about. And, January 6th, all this stuff, right? Liz Cheney's kangaroo committee. And here he is, like 40 points ahead of the next person behind him. I mean, it really is a miracle that this happened. And I've seen a couple people say over the last couple days, which kind of ticks me off. Frank Luntz said this, and I heard a couple others, that Trump's had a comeback. Trump has not had a comeback. He's never been gone. Okay, this idea that he's had a comeback, he hasn't had a comeback. He's never been gone. And the power of the people in this country that are behind Donald Trump, us and you guys out there.
Well, that's what's really at the heart of what's bothering them. Like Trump said, they're not coming after me, they're coming after you. And he's right. What's really, really at the heart of all of this is the power of the people superseding the power of the donors, and they don't like it.
And the media and the deep state.
They don't like that the people are deciding. Like Joy Behar said, "Oh no, we can't let the people decide."
Oh no,
they don't like the people deciding, and they know that's what happened in the last election, and it scared the hell out of them. That was supposed to go to Hillary, it didn't, and we know what happened.
Yeah,
but that's what's really at the heart of what's bothering them.
And
Trump is just he's just their whipping boy. But believe me, it's really about us and about the people choosing somebody that they don't like.
So today I was talking in my YouTube live chat during the radio show this morning, and I was talking to people during the chat that went like, for example, this thing with Ramaswamy. Trump said Vivek Ramaswamy is not MAGA. And I was asking people in my chat room, do you agree with Trump? I agree with everything Trump says, okay? But I asked people in the chat room, do you agree with Trump that Vivek is not MAGA? Most everybody said, no, he's not. I agree with Trump. But some people said, yeah, I no, he is. And I said, why? And there were a variety of answers that all said the same thing. I'm not a mindless robot. A lot of people have this ego. Well, I'm just not going to do what Trump tells me. Listen.
I guess they're calling you a mindless robot.
I'm not suggesting that Trump become the dictator of the United States, but although maybe that wouldn't be a bad thing. But what I'm telling you is that what's going on in this election, there were so many things going on behind the scenes that we are not aware of, that we have to rely on Trump's judgment through every step of this process to come to the final victory in November. And if he brings somebody in we don't like, we've got to support that person. If he drops someone that you don't like, you've got to support him dropping that person. There were so many things going on behind the scenes that we will never know about, that he knows about. Mm-hmm. And he's making all kinds of moves to win re-election. And him being re-elected is important to save this country as we know. We will be the United States in name only if he is not re-elected.
I know the amount of people crossing the border. We have another year of this, and
that's right.
In a little less than a year,
and they're going to ramp it up when the winter's over.
Another 4 years of this. Eric Trump tweeted that the biggest spread they've had in Iowa is 12 points.
Really,
the winner in history. So he said, don't let the media try to spin it that he's not underperforming. And he said that's the largest spread they've had of a winner in Iowa. So, but I don't think Trump won Iowa last time. I think Ted Cruz won it.
No, Ted Cruz, yeah.
So we saw what happened with that. But I think Trump's going to win it today.
I remember how excited the media got when Ted Cruz won Iowa.
Oh, that's when Glenn Beck jumped on his bandwagon.
Oh man, but we never left him. So to support Trump, and when I tell you guys that I will support Trump in whatever he says and does during this election, that's not mindless. It's trust that it's the knowledge knowing that this country can only be saved with him winning, and trusting him, knowing what's going on behind the scenes that we don't know about to get to that victory.
So if he won Iowa last time, so I don't remember everything.
No, Ted Cruz won.
Ted Cruz, I'm saying. How did he lose that momentum? When did things change to Trump's favor? Because then there was a time where it was just Trump.
It was the debates. They had these endless debates, and he was, And he was polling well, and he was doing so well in the debates. And see, what he was doing in the debates in the first time is similar to what he's doing now in a different way. He hasn't participated in the debates, but he always focused in on who his number one rival was at that point. And
I just wonder how Ted
down.
Cruz managed to win Iowa.
Because
he had done a bunch of debates.
I'll tell you why.
Point.
I'll tell you why. Because at that time, Ted Cruz won Iowa, the Iowa caucus in the first campaign. The reason he did and President Trump did not is because President Trump was new to campaigning and he didn't really have a full organization yet. Okay, Ted Cruz is part of the Republican establishment with the Bushes. That he had an organization to get out the vote. So the
things are different now, for sure.
There's an organization now, and there's obviously a more organized movement than we had.
He's running
back
a
then.
totally different campaign than the last two campaigns.
It's an amazing campaign.
It's more intimate. It's more focused on certain things that need to be directly addressed. Certain people.
Yeah.
That, you know what I'm saying? It seems like a more honed in, laser focused. And I think, I'm not saying Trump's not smart, but I think what you're seeing now is a wiser, more jaded Trump. He's definitely not as naive as he was going in the first time when he thought everybody was his friend. And he was genuinely, for the first 3 years of his presidency, genuinely shocked constantly at how the media was treating him. And he couldn't seem to get over it until he got COVID, and then things switched in his mind. And I think he realized these people are never going to be my friend. And it's over. It's over. And I think the veil that he had dropped, and I could see a marked change in him in his tone towards the press. Yeah. It was like, okay, I get it now. Yeah. I know where I stand.
Yeah.
And ever since then, he's been different. And I think he's going into this. He said, I've heard him say, I know who to trust and who I can't trust now. And the first term was a learning curve for him. And there were a lot of people he trusted, like Jeff Sessions and other people, that Mike Pence, that stabbed him in the back.
Stabbed us all in the back.
And yes, even Ron DeSantis, he was talking about it at his last speech. It really
but you know what?
bothered him.
President
he said,
Trump
the guy's not
today?
loyal. And he said, I'm sorry. He said, people have told me that loyalty doesn't matter in politics. And he said, I disagree. He said, it does matter. And the audience applauded. He said, loyalty should matter.
President Trump said something that really caught me off guard on Truth Social today involving Nikki Haley and Ron DeSantis. Let me pull this up because I'll read it as he said it because he said something that was almost positive about Ron DeSantis. And I was like, what? It really caught me off guard. Let me pull this up on Truth Social. Let's see here. Okay, here it is. This was about an hour ago is the time we're doing the podcast that President Trump on Truth Social. Now, remember, what Trump always does is he focuses his attention on the number two person. And when somebody falls to 3 or below, he's more friendly with them. And that's how we did it the first campaign. Listen, okay, so this is what President Trump posted on Truth Social today. Nikki Haley can never win in the general election because she doesn't have MAGA and never will. Ron DeSanctimonious, at least, is MAGA light. Remember, I think MAGA is almost all of the Republican Party. The days of rhinos and non-America First candidates are over. Nikki is a globalist rhino backed by Americans for Chinese growth. The Charles Koch con job. It's not going to happen for her or DeSanctimonious. Vivek votes are wasted, should come to Trump, make America great again. So what I'm saying is
MAGA light.
He said almost something nice about it. He said Ron DeSanctimonious is at least MAGA light, whatever. But at least that's better than what he said about Vivek, who he said is not
MAGA.
Then he posted on Truth Social this morning. This was during Fox and Friends. You guys, I know you don't watch Fox and Friends because I'm on the air then, but President Trump said, Nikki just said on Fox and Friends that she's up in the polls. I'm beating her by 57 points. What's up? Yeah.
She's really distasteful.
And then he said something else about Vivek this morning. Okay, now this was something. And
he's got to get on X. I'm sorry.
He's got to be on the Twitter.
Get back on,
I would like to see him on Twitter. Now, this post on Truth Social today is in all caps. This is President Trump. A vote for Vivek is a wasted vote. I like Vivek, but he played it too cute with us. He put cute in parentheses. Caucus tonight for Donald J. Trump. Build up the numbers. In November, we must take our very troubled nation, a nation in decline, back from crooked Joe Biden and the radical left Democrats and thugs who are destroying it, MAGA. So yesterday, President Trump said Vivek is not MAGA, and now he says he played it too cute. What do you think that he means by that? Those T-shirts? Save Trump, vote Vivek?
I think the T-shirts, yeah.
That was too much.
I don't get that whole new. It's like he disappeared for a few weeks, and then he came back like in street clothes. I mean, I've never seen him outside of a suit, and he always is a sharp dressed guy. And then he came back wearing street clothes with a jacket, a weird jacket, doing interviews from convenience stores. And he came up with this whole new slogan, "Save Trump from himself." And I don't even know what that means. What is he trying to say?
And then
that was really weak and pathetic, I thought. I'm like, okay, it took him 2 or 3 weeks to come up with this. He's gone. He can't handle being out of the limelight. You know what I mean? He took a break and he had to go back home with his money and his family, and he couldn't handle being off television. So he shows up trying to get people to vote for him. He was upset because he wasn't on the Fox graphic. He had tweeted this morning. He said they're missing somebody because he's not a player anymore.
He's faded.
So he's going around telling people, but Trump's right. If you vote for him or DeSantis or Nikki Haley, you are wasting your vote. You need to vote for Trump. Bring it home. Eventually these people that are supporting, I'm assuming that most of these people that are supporting Nikki and DeSantis and Vivek are going to switch to Trump because that's the way it's going to be. I mean, he's better. They're going to say, well, he's better than Biden. I mean, we got to do something about the border and the inflation. They've been convinced through media and other things that Trump's bad, but they'll come back into the fold once these other people drop off.
All right, now listen, we're going to take our first break. When we get back, there's a lot more to talk about. Don't go anywhere. I'm Brian Craig, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. We'll be back right after this.
From author Chelsea Blankenship comes a story of love, dreams, and the haunting power of memories. Remember December, available on Amazon. And Remember December, meet Bree Butler. She's a rising star, forced to return to her small town roots. In the wake of her uncle's death, she confronts more than just family ties. She faces the ghost of a romantic past, a past that echoes in her hit song, Remember December. But returning home stirs forgotten feelings. Bree must face the reality of the love she left behind. Can she leave it there when she's ready to go back to Los Angeles? Find out when you read Remember December from author Chelsea Blankenship. Available on Amazon. Remember December is an exploration of the delicate balance between ambition and love, the past and the future, dreams and reality. This book is perfect for book clubs. Order your copy right now. Remember December from author Chelsea Blankenship on Amazon and discover how much dreams are truly worth. How would you like to take an adventure through time? You can, and you can do it without a time machine with the History Buff Podcast. With host Artie, your resident history buff. He's a Berlin tour guide, and Artie knows history. There are 2 types of adventures on the History Buff Podcast. First, solo, concise episodes that are under 20 minutes. They're perfect for your daily commute to and home from work. There's also in-depth discussions and interviews that last up to an hour for a deeper understanding of history's fascinating stories. The History Buff Podcast takes you on a whirlwind tour through time. You'll discover the rich history of Berlin, unravel the complex narratives of Ukraine, and be inspired by stories of India's first female prime minister. And that's just the beginning. After all, it's history, and there's a lot of it. Make sure to share the History Buff Podcast on all your social media so your friends can join the journey of historical discovery. The History Buff Podcast is available on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and all podcast platforms. Start listening right now. The History Buff Podcast is your gateway to exploring the past like you never have before. The History Buff Podcast with your resident history buff, Artie, where history comes alive. Tune in and transform your understanding of the past. The History Buff Podcast on all podcast platforms. It's a new year. Are you thinking of going for that dream job you've always wanted? To do that, you're going to need a resume that stands out. One that doesn't get sent to the bottom of the stack. And that's where the new book from certified professional resume writer, career coach, and author Andres Ricardo comes in. From Resume to Dream Job, How to Succeed in the Job Market. Available on Amazon. Inside, you'll find a masterclass in career strategy. That involves building a professional brand, creating a job search plan, networking efficiently and acing those interviews. You'll also find core essentials of career marketing materials. Discover the methods and strategies used by the author himself, strategies that have propelled countless clients just like you to success in the job market. Whether you're just starting out or looking to make that big career move, From Resume to Dream Job is your roadmap to reaching your dream job. It's not just advice, it's a proven blueprint to success. Available on Amazon, in Kindle, paperback, and Kindle Unlimited. From Resume to Dream Job, how to succeed in the job market. From certified professional resume writer, career coach, and author Andres Ricardo. Order your copy right now and turn your career dreams into reality. From Resume to Dream Job, how to succeed in the job market on Amazon. Are you living the life that you want to live? You've tried to make changes. You've just needed the right help and guide. And that's what you will find in the new book from author Katrina Dell, Unveiling the Journey to Inner Transformation. Available on Amazon. Author Katrina Dell unravels the mysteries behind sustainable weight loss, mental clarity, and a revitalized spirit. Unveiling the Journey to Inner Transformation is a blueprint for a vibrant, fulfilling life. With this must-read and life-changing book, you'll discover the art of nourishing both your body and soul, unlocking your fullest potential. It's a path of self-discovery and resilience. This isn't just for a fitter physique, but for a fortified mind and revitalized spirit. With practical insights and scientific evidence, Unveiling the Journey to Inner Transformation will illuminate your path towards a healthier, more vibrant you. It will revitalize your relationship with food and guide you towards vitality and well-being. Find energy, clarity, and fulfillment. Order your copy of Unveiling the Journey to Inner Transformation from author Katrina Dell. Available on Amazon. Your journey to a healthier, happier, and more inspired life begins now. Unveiling the Journey to Inner Transformation from author Katrina Dell on Amazon.
You are listening to The Brian Craig Show podcast, broadcasting from sunny South Florida. Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at BrianCraigShow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. So Trump had a great speech in Iowa yesterday. He was in Iowa all weekend, and Ron DeSantis spent all day Saturday saying, "Oh, he won't come here, won't come here."
That was hilarious.
And Trump was planning on being there anyway,
Yes.
because this event he had set up was not just something they did at the spur of the moment.
No.
But anyway, on his speech on Sunday, he was talking about Washington, D.C., and listen to this.
And we will take over the horribly run capital of our nation. Horribly run. We have a capital that we all love. Right now, it's a rat-infested, graffiti-infested shithole. It's horrible. And we will take over the horrible.
Yeah,
He's right about that.
He's right.
All these big cities are shitholes, basically.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, and, you know, when President Trump uses profanity in the speeches, it's always appropriate. I mean, and people love it. I mean, I'm not big. I don't use a lot of profanity when I'm speaking publicly. I do when I'm not, you know, publicly speaking more than when I publicly speak. But I use it sparingly. Sometimes when I'm like today, when on my live stream during a commercial break, I was talking and used some salty language. But when President Trump
Megyn
says
Kelly
it,
uses it a lot.
yeah, when President Trump, though, uses profanity, you've never heard a president use profanity
He likes
before.
that word, and but it's appropriate.
It's always appropriate.
All these major cities. I just wanted to show you, tell you on X, they have that one reporter I like from Fox, Aisha something. She's got the dark hair. She's really pretty, really good. She's at a restaurant live. This I saw on Twitter. She was at a restaurant live, a bakery, waiting for Nikki Haley, and it's a huge place, and there's like two or three people there, and there's about 10 empty tables.
Wow.
So, yeah, she's well, remember they had that other event at a restaurant that they canceled. Nikki
That's right.
Haley was supposed to be at
Last
a restaurant a couple days ago in Iowa that
Yeah.
they canceled because nobody showed up. So the same problem is here.
Well, there's a story that came out today from Molly Hemingway that came from NBC News, which is crazy. Now, if you guys remember, when President Trump was president-elect the first time, they were talking on the news. Remember this? They were actually talking on the news, like Mika Brzezinski, CNN, that after he was president-elect, that they should give him false national security reports because he can't be trusted. He'll give the information to Russia. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
And that's crazy. And he's going to be president-elect again, right? And NBC has a story that is being suppressed. In a detailed, this is in the Gateway Pundit, and Molly Hemingway tweeted about this story, that the military are planning a coup against Trump if he wins the election. And here's the story from NBC News. And I tweeted the story from Gateway Pundit, and inside of it is a link to the NBC story. Fears grow that Trump will use the military in dictatorial ways if he returns to the White House.
Oh, my goodness.
Among those being mentioned for Trump's defense secretary are Chris Miller, who served during his administration, Michael Flynn, and Mike Pompeo. Donald Trump, listen to this. This is NBC News, okay? This isn't MSNBC. This is NBC News.
Yeah.
MSNBC is kind of like, you know, they're all liberal and not credible and fake news, but NBC is like their brand, right? This is the story. Donald Trump is sparking fears among those who understand the inner workings of the Pentagon that he would convert the nonpartisan U.S. military. What a bunch of crap that is. They're spending their time on CRT and all this stuff. The nonpartisan U.S. military. Remember General Milley and Austin wanted to root out all the MAGA people in the service, but it's nonpartisan, right? Donald Trump is sparking fears among, this is NBC News, Donald Trump is sparking fears among those who understand the inner workings of the Pentagon that he would convert the nonpartisan U.S. military into the muscular arm of his political agenda as he makes comments about dictatorship and devalues the checks and balances that underpin the nation's 2-century-old democracy. A circle of appointees independent of Trump's political operation steered him away from ideas that would have pushed the limits of presidential power in his last term, according to books that they've written and testimony to the Congress. That's all BS.
It's all BS.
Most were gone by the end. In a new term, many former officials worry that Trump would surround himself with loyalists unwilling to say no. Well, that is, I hope so. Trump has raised fresh questions about his intentions if he regains power by putting forward a legal theory that a president would be free to do nearly anything with impunity, including assassinate political rivals. This is NBC News.
That's crazy.
This isn't MSNBC. This is the NBC. As long as Congress can't muster the votes to impeach him. Now, bracing for Trump's potential return, a loose-knit network of public interest groups and lawmakers is quietly devising plans to try to foil any efforts to expand presidential power, which could include pressuring the military to cater to his political needs. Those taking part in the effort told NBC News they are studying Trump's past actions. That involves prepping to take legal action and send letters to Trump appointees spelling out consequences they'd face if they undermine constitutional norms. We're already starting to put together a team to think through the most damaging types of things that Trump might do so that we're ready.
It's all fantasy. Nothing that this is all them just sitting around in a big circle jerk, fantasizing over what he could do, what could happen. They don't live in reality, these people.
Well, and this is a very long article that I'm not going to read through anymore, but if you go to my Twitter, I posted the Gateway Pundit article about this, and inside that there's a link to the 10,000-word NBC article. But what NBC is reporting is that the military and civilians that are anti-Trump are working together to take the military away from civilian authority so that Trump can't misuse it. Well, I got news.
That's never going to happen.
Well, Kathy, remember on January 6th, General Milley went and took control of the nuclear weapon codes from Trump and contacted the Chinese military. There was a military coup on January 6th by Milley. You cannot have a military that is not under civilian. If you have a military that is not under civilian authority, you're living in a military dictatorship. What they're talking about doing, this is crazy. What they're talking about doing, and I know it's very gobbledygook and intellectual.
A little bit, yeah.
What they're talking about doing at NBC News is there is a move right now among members of the military and Washington insiders to stage a military coup against Trump's second presidency.
But that might not be true. They could just be saying that
Why would they report something so insane?
Because everything they report is bullshit. Okay, listen to this. This is Trump, what he said yesterday. Hold on.
As soon as I take the oath of office, I'll terminate every open border policy of the Biden administration and begin the largest deportation operation in American history.
That's what they're really afraid of, is he's going to come in and undo everything they've done. And a big part of what they're doing is with allowing all these illegals in. There's so many reasons they want them to vote for them. They want to change the demographics of the country. They want to eliminate the middle class. They're bringing in a bunch of socialistic people that are uneducated, that have illnesses, they're criminals, and all this stuff. They're trying to really affect and change the mindset, the tone, and make this country what they want to do is reshape the country into their image, and they can't do that with people that are American and that love America. They have to do that with people that hate America and are on board with them. And one way to do that is bring in people that don't know anything about American history. They do what they're told. They give them, they pay for them. A peasant class. They give them homes, healthcare, food, free education, all this stuff. As long as they want complete control of their lives. They can't do that with hardworking Americans. So they're bringing in a whole new crop of people that they can do that with, people that are completely dependent on them. Look at these people they've brought in that are living in New York, in Chicago, Los Angeles, San Francisco. They're living in government housing. They're getting food stamps. They're waiting around with nothing to do. They're not working. They're not contributing. They're not doing anything. They're just waiting around for the government to shuffle them around, tell them where to go, what to do. And this is what they want, people that they can control. They can't control regular hardworking Americans. So they're bringing in people. So Trump's going to do the most massive deportation in the history of this country. And I'm telling you, I think the border issue is going to be, as it was a huge issue in his first term, I think more than ever, it is going to be the biggest issue, because it is really, they just had the governor of Illinois begging, he's a liberal, begging Greg Abbott to stop sending illegals to his state. Why don't you beg Biden to stop letting them into the country? Well, that is going to be the biggest issue of this election.
All these things. And I'll finish up with this military. See, if you look at everything that's in the news, this military thing, the polls, Frank Luntz said Trump's going to win the primaries and the general election. So what's happening now is these Washington anti-Trump, never-Trumpers are dealing with the fact that he's coming back for a second term. That's great news. But they're also planning on how to screw him over in the second term. Now, this deportation, they're never going to leave this guy alone, guys, okay? This deportation, Biden has brought in 4.6 million minimum a year in the last 3 years, right? And this year, right now, the winter's here. As soon as the winter's over, they're going to amp it up even more. So this year, we're probably going to get over 5 million, well over 5 million, because it's going to be the last year to do it. That doesn't include all. So you've got, let's say we're going to average probably 5 million illegals over 4 years. So that's 20 million, plus all the illegals that were already here, plus the babies they've had, right? So you're talking, Kathy, about deporting, I don't know, 40, 50 million people. I don't know how such a large deportation is going to take place, but the media, what's going to happen is...
It'll be easy because they all know where they live. They're all in certain hotels. They're living in schools.
Yeah, but Kathy...
They're all grouped in certain locations.
President Trump said yesterday, I think it might have been Saturday. I watch all of Trump's speeches, so sometimes I forget what he said in one or the other. But one of the times he was talking over the weekend, he said Eisenhower had when Eisenhower was president, he had a big deportation thing. And he said Eisenhower, they would take him and then drop him off across the border of Mexico. They just come back. He says you have to take him deep down in South America. So you just can't take him to Mexico.
Rainforest.
Yeah, exactly. So Kathy, that many people, it is a deportation effort. It'll be the largest migration of people in history, and at least in the West. And what the left and the media think is that the American people won't like it. Okay, they're going to have their own Venezuelan, Mexican Anne Frank stories. They're going to show trains going to Auschwitz.
They're definitely going to like it because
and
people
the
have
American,
had enough.
The American people are going to wave bye-bye
That's
and get rid of them. And the reason is, Americans are not against immigration, but this isn't immigration. This is invasion.
Yes.
And
this is not a systematic. This is not a systematic thing. That's happening here, where you have, a proper system in place. Of bringing people in like they had at the beginning of the 20th century. Okay, there's no rhyme or reason to this. Everything is just open. It's just come in, and we'll give you free stuff. And you go here, you go there, and that's it. It's very different than in the past when people would come here legally. Like my ancestors would come here legally, and my own mother, and work. And my mom's a nurse. She just retired. She was a nurse for 60 years. She went to school in Canada, in Toronto, sick kids school in Toronto. Then met my dad on vacation in Florida. He was a lifeguard. She came down 6 months later. They got married and then became a citizen when I was about 5 years old. But she worked the whole time. My mom always worked. She didn't come and freeload off anybody or do anything. She didn't even become a citizen when she married my dad in 1963.
Even though she had you, her anchor baby.
Yeah, she had 2 anchor babies. My brother and I, she was still Canadian when she had both of us.
Yeah.
In 66, she had my brother and me in 1970. She didn't become a citizen until 74, 75. So that's the way it used to be. You had to work for it. You had to earn it. You had to contribute, pay taxes. Now, just like my great-grandmother came in from Italy and all this, my relatives, now you just come in, and it's not just South Americans coming in, okay? You have nationals from all over the world.
Africa, Asia, Middle East.
China, the Middle Eastern countries. We don't know anything about these people. And like Trump said, they're all young, military-age men. We don't know. Why are they coming here? People need to ask these questions. And if you're a Democrat, you need to get past your Trump derangement syndrome. But see, like I said, a lot of these Democrats hate America, and they don't care. They think it's fine.
And one of the things that Candace Owens was reporting on this over the weekend. I'm not a big fan of hers. She was trashing Trump, but she was reporting on something with the southern border. They have found these organizations that are working down there that when all these people come in from around the world, and even in Latin America, they have ID and documents, and they tell them to dump their documents and ID.
Give them new ones.
Come here undocumented. You come into the country without ID, you get a whole new life. And what's happened with this invasion at the southern border, it's a retirement plan for these people, right? They get free food, free housing. They get money every month. Their kids get a free education. Now, I want to
and keep in mind, you're paying for that.
What? Yeah.
Who do you think? Where do you think that money comes from?
Us.
That money comes from us.
Yeah.
Okay. When you pay your taxes and all this other stuff, and sales tax and all these other taxes,
income to all that.
When you pay taxes on your home, you're paying for schools. You're paying for those illegals.
And
a lot of it,
it's not just federal taxes. It's your local taxes because they're using the hospital emergency rooms as free clinics, which is a burden on.
Exactly.
Now, I want to thank our Patreon supporters for their support of the program. And those of you that are Patreon supporters, make sure that you go to the Patreon page. Those of you that are Patreon supporters, and you can become a Patreon supporter for just $5 a month. You have exclusive access to all kinds of things. Okay. Commercial-free editions of every podcast episode, but also Kathy and I both post a lot of content that is only available to Patreon supporters. I post videos up there. Kathy posts a lot of things up there as well. Kathy posts videos as well, exclusive content.
Videos and pictures.
There's a lot of exclusive content that only Patreon supporters have access to. So if you are a Patreon supporter, make sure you visit the Patreon page and take advantage and access all that exclusive material. If you'd like to become a Patreon supporter, there's a link in the description of this and every episode, okay? You can also go to the website directly. It's patreon.com/RealBrianCraigShow. And our top Patreon supporters get a live on-air thank you shout-out on each episode. So the names you will hear now are our top Patreon supporters. I want to thank Andrew and Connie, Christine, ETW, Chuck, D, Pamela, Rick, Nick, Wesley, Macho, Mike P, Carlos, Paulette, John, ActicFox, Heather, David, Maria in Texas, Richard, Alice, K-Mac, LeeZep, and Shawna. These are our top Patreon supporters. Thank you all for your support. We're going to take our last break. When we come back, there's much more. Don't go anywhere. I'm Brian, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. We'll be back right after this.
The new sci-fi novel from author Tony Travis is now available on Amazon. Keyholes. Keyholes is a journey of discovery. Meet Dr. Alan Messman and his brother Colonel Bryce Messman as they uncover a groundbreaking revelation, a mysterious portal influenced by quantum effects on photons. Join their team on a quest to unravel the secrets hidden behind the keyhole. What lies beyond? A passage to the past, an alternate world, or something beyond our wildest imaginations? Find out when you read Keyholes from author Tony Travis. Follow their journey as it challenges the very nature of reality, intertwining cosmic mysteries with a deep exploration of identity and existence. Every page is a gateway to another layer of mystery, leading to a climax that will leave you questioning the very fabric of our universe. Order your copy of Keyholes from author Tony Travis on Amazon. Available in Kindle, paperback, hardcover, and Kindle Unlimited. Keyholes from author Tony Travis on Amazon. Planning a trip or vacation in the new year? Make sure your journey starts at Border to Border Travel. At Border to Border Travel, you'll discover the power of efficient packing with their compression packing cubes and underseat luggage. Border to Border Travel will have you traveling in style while optimizing space like you've never done before. Their compact cubes ingeniously compress your essentials, while their underseat luggage is designed for seamless, stress-free journeys. It's perfect for weekend getaways or business trips. With Border to Border Travel, you'll experience the convenience of organized, hassle-free travel. You get the perfect synergy of smart design and durability. Travel smarter, travel lighter, and travel with unmatched ease. Embrace your next adventure with Border to Border Travel, where innovation meets wanderlust. Online at bordertobordertravel.com. That's the number 2, bordertobordertravel.com. Your journey starts today. bordertobordertravel.com. Are you a business owner, a member of a management team, or want to take your career to leadership levels? Then you will want to add the new book from author Stefan Reckert to your must-read list, Management Meets Nietzsche, a leadership philosophy, available on Amazon. Management Meets Nietzsche is a journey through Nietzsche's philosophies, reimagined for today's disruptive leadership landscape. In 1884, Nietzsche challenged the value system, and today, this book explores what it takes to be a transformative leader in our modern world. When you read Management Meets Nietzsche, you'll discover how leadership requirements have evolved over 140 years. It blends scientific studies, personal anecdotes, and management literature. It also offers actionable insights for aspiring leaders just like you of any background. The author translates Nietzsche's teachings to modern management, challenging traditional concepts and introducing a fresh perspective on great leadership. Filled with a combination of old virtues, disruptive approaches, and a peek into the future of work, this book will prepare you to embrace innovation. It's also filled with entertaining and eye-opening examples from the author's career. This is a vital resource for anyone who wants to master disruptive thinking and leadership. It's engaging, philosophical, and practical, and perfect for business owners, managers, and anyone who aspires to lead. Management Meets Nietzsche, a leadership philosophy from author Stefan Reckert, available on Amazon and Kindle, paperback, hardcover, and Kindle Unlimited. Order your copy right now and embrace the journey of leadership like never before. Management Meets Nietzsche, a leadership philosophy on Amazon. From author Patricia J. Marino comes a book that explores the American experience like never before. We Have All Been the Others, reflections of a first generation's daughter on belonging, democracy, and a new American dream. Available on Amazon and BarnesandNoble.com. Drawing from the wisdom of her Sicilian American father, former Detective Alexander Francis Marino, the author offers universal lessons that resonate with our current American landscape. From confronting hypocrisy to the pursuit of fairness, each chapter chapter unfolds a timeless truth. This unique memoir through history examines the original promise of America through the lens of the Bill of Rights, the Declaration of Independence, and the United States Constitution. We Have All Been the Others invites readers to re-envision a new America. In the words of Langston Hughes, let America be America again. Chapters include Laws Don't Always Equal Right, Call Out Hypocrisy, and Strive to Learn Toughness Through Adversity. Author Patricia J. Marino weaves personal stories with historical insights, exploring the concept of the other and the collective immigrant experience. With this must-read book, you'll embrace our shared heritage, understand our past, and build a more inclusive future. This book is perfect for book clubs and is also a great addition for teachers' classroom reading collection. Order your copy of We Have All Been the Others, Reflections of a First Generation's Daughter on Belonging, Democracy, and a New American Dream. Available on Amazon and BarnesandNoble.com.
You are listening to The Brian Craig Show podcast, broadcasting from sunny South Florida. Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at BrianCraigShow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian, always joined by my wife and co-host, Kathy. MSNBC, they interviewed a Democrat in New Hampshire. Listen to this.
It means nothing to me.
Iowa means nothing.
No, I'm an independent, but I'm going to vote for Nikki Haley to try to slow Trump's momentum.
Okay. Now, let me tell you this. I know I said she was a Democrat, and then she says she's an independent. 99.9999% of people who say they're an independent are a lying Democrat. Democrats know that as Democrats, they don't have credibility, so they try to pass themselves off as something. New Hampshire is a crossover primary, meaning that Democrats can vote in the Republican primary. Republicans can vote in the Democrat primary when they have one, but they don't have one this time around.
It's ridiculous that Democrats can vote in this.
But you can't vote in both.
Yeah.
Okay? That's an outrageous thing. Primaries should not be crossover. I don't know how this is allowed, but you know, that's two stories here on this one podcast episode of Nikki Haley going after Democrats. You know, she's got Governor Sununu endorse her. He's the governor of New Hampshire, and you know, his dad worked for the Bush administration, the first Bush administration. They're Bush people. They got the Bush people behind it.
Yeah.
And they've been doing outreach for weeks among Democrats. And I got to tell you, it's really twisted what's going on here. And I don't really think there are that many Republican voters that are anti-Trump. I think the vast majority of Republican voters, I'm not talking about the media, I'm not talking about the politicians, I'm about the voters. The vast majority of Republican voters are obviously MAGA.
Well, if she
or Nikki wouldn't be going after
exactly.
Democrats.
If she has to rely on Democrats, that means she doesn't have the votes, and I think it's despicable. I think it tells you everything you need to know about her, and anybody who supports her when she's pulling that kind of nonsense, shame on you. I'm sorry, but that's just, she's scummy. I've said it before. She's running a scummy campaign, but she'll rationalize it in her mind. But if she has to get Democrats to come out and vote for her, I mean, why would you support somebody like that?
Yeah, it's sick. And I'll tell you,
it is sick.
What happened with Trump, there's a lot of this red pilling, right? We had Democrats that walked away from the Democrat and became Republicans and supported Trump. That's not what's going on here. We have lifelong Democrats who will maintain being Democrats their whole life, and like this so-called independent. She's all, you guys believe she's an independent, that lady? Give me a break.
No, these are people that are going to vote for Biden. So this is a wasted vote. This is what's happening is you have Democrats voting for her now, but they're not going to vote for her in the final election.
No.
So it's completely pointless. You might defeat Trump here, and you might get say hypothetically, which is not going to happen, you got her to the final. All these people that voted for her in Iowa, they're not going to vote for her in the election. You don't want that. You want people that are going to vote for you now, and they're going to vote for you later.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it doesn't mean anything.
So what we're going to have now is we're going to have this victory in Iowa. We just don't know how big the victory is going to be, right? And it's hard to say because
I can't wait to see it.
I know what you said. Eric Trump said the record is 12-point spread.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
but they're predicting Trump 25 points.
You never know until it actually happens what it's going to be. Because it all depends on turnout.
That's right.
And these other guys on the ballot, Nikki and DeSantis, they have the Republican Party behind them, and they got access to charter buses and stuff like that.
That's right.
So I'm sure there'll be a lot of that going on. But the cool thing about Iowa, if you can watch it live, the Iowa caucus, watch it, guys.
Yeah, we're definitely going to do that.
I never watched the Iowa caucus until Trump's first campaign. And I really can't explain how they do it. It kind of reminds me of how we did our elections when I was like in high school, our student government elections. Everybody meets in a room. Each candidate can have a representative make their case for a certain 90 seconds, 2 minutes or something like this. And then they all vote by just writing down on a piece of paper. They're all in the room together. And people at the front just go through the votes out of a basket, a box, or whatever.
Well, how many rooms are there full of people
around the state? They have
caucus
locations throughout the state. Okay. But everybody who is voting, they call it caucusing, they're all in the room while things are being tabulated.
Right.
They don't take things in secret or everything. And it's really a fascinating process. And if you've never seen it before, you'll be shocked that this is how America is run. But maybe all of the votes should be this way because no one seems to complain about it up there in Iowa. But it's all about turnout. It's all about turnout. Right. And, you know, I've been watching these events with Trump and everybody else. And Trump has been, Trump hasn't been doing rallies. He's been doing these intimate things. And the reason he's been doing these intimate things, if you watch on Right Side Broadcasting when they have a big rally, and they interview people come from all over the country. And he wanted to meet people in Iowa. He didn't want people from Texas or Florida coming. What President Trump has been doing during this campaign is he has either met or been in the same small room with the majority of caucus goers in Iowa. And as opposed to doing these big rallies where people will come from the surrounding 8 states.
No, and in fact, he's going to local restaurants. They showed him today, went to a pizzeria and he bought a bunch of pizzas, took them to a local fire station.
Yeah.
And he's doing that. He's doing a more intimate, more hands-on campaign, which I think is good.
Yeah. So he's running a completely different type of campaign, and he's had massive turnouts at every event with overflow rooms at every event. And, people go to these things and they know they're going to be in an overflow room. They just want to be in the same building.
Yeah.
They just want to be able to breathe the same air as president. These other people, they can't even fill up the small rooms.
No.
So I expect a big turnout for Trump. The weather's pretty bad, although I haven't seen the latest weather report in Iowa.
How can you say that you want to do what's right for the country when you're a Republican and then say it's okay for Democrats to vote for you, which completely believe in a totally different ideology?
They have their morality's not the same.
It's bizarre.
The Democrats and the Republicans in this country have two different moral codes. And you can go down the line. They believe in pretty much 100% taxation, right? Yeah. They abortion on demand, open borders. They're supporting this proxy war in Ukraine, which I thought the liberals were supposed to be the anti-war, love children, but they're for this war in Ukraine, And, I've been telling you guys about Pavlo from Ukraine. He's a 20-something YouTuber in Ukraine. And he did a live stream from his house last night. It looked like some YouTuber that I watch like in, here in the United States. He had all the fancy lighting. There's no war going on. He's remodeling his house. You know what I mean? The Democrats have a completely different moral code on almost every single thing. They don't support free speech.
Mm-mm.
You guys know what Democrats are about and what Republicans are about. So when you have someone who's a Republican that's going to private fundraisers with top Democrat donors, when they're out there in the field trying to get rank and file Democrat voters to vote for them in a primary, I mean, how can you trust someone like that? Now with Ronald Reagan said that the Republican Party is a big tent, and if you agree with me, 80% of the time we're in the same tent. I agree with that. Okay, we're not going to agree on everything. That's crazy. Kathy and I have been married 27 years. We don't agree on everything, But the Democrats and Republicans are night and day. There's no room for agreement. Okay, the Democrats don't even believe the United States Constitution is a valid document.
Exactly.
So how can you go out and say we want to get your vote? Now I want to just give you guys a little bit on what my schedule is. Those of you that are new to the program, I do all kinds of content, okay? This is the Brian Craig Show podcast that I co-host with my wife, Kathy. The Brian Craig Show podcast is available on all podcast platforms. And I also upload the podcast to my YouTube channel, Brian Craig Show on YouTube. But we're available on all podcast platforms. Whatever podcast platform there is, you can listen to the podcast on. Just search for the Brian Craig Show podcast. We've been doing this show for many, many years, and this has been named the number 3 must-listen-to conservative podcast in America. Number 1 is Mark Levin. Number 2 is Glenn Beck. And number 3 is the Brian Craig Show podcast. I also co-host a morning radio show with Steve Kane that's on 6 FM radio stations here in Florida. And I live stream Monday through Friday from 6 until 9 a.m. Eastern while I'm on the radio taking live calls. And I also live stream from my home studio on weekends and take live calls as well on my YouTube channel, Brian Craig Show on YouTube. So, but pretty much you can get me everywhere on YouTube. If you follow me on YouTube, Brian Craig Show on YouTube, you can get the radio show, all my YouTube content, the podcast, and everything, okay? And so if you can get everything all in one place there. But if you want to listen to the podcast when you're on the go, you can listen on all the podcast apps. Now, of course, you guys know the story that Mike Lindell's been canceled by Fox News. They're not going to allow him to advertise on Fox News any longer. And, of course, he's been a longtime supporter of ours. So if you want to support Mike Lindell and all of the content I'm connected to, the podcast, the radio show, my YouTube channel, go to mypillow.com and use our promo code Kane at checkout, Kane. You can save up to 80% off top MyPillow products, right? You can use our promo code Kane on all the specials at mypillow.com. And when you do, you're supporting us and Mike Lindell and MyPillow. I'm Brian Craig, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. We will talk to you next time.